Excellency Kachkachish Veli, I got it right. And friends, I was asked to give this 10-12 minute talk on the growth of Indian biotechnology and the focus on Hyderabad. Many of you in the audience were not born when India started biotechnology. India today is 64 years old, free India. And when India became independent on the midnight hour, 15th August 1947, our Prime Minister at that time said, on this midnight hour, when the world sleeps, free India awakes for its tryst with destiny. At the same time, we also started our tryst with biotechnology. Please do not go by the current day definition of what biotechnology is. It is not just vaccines, it is not just genetically modified organisms, it's not just antibodies. It's much more than that. It covers the entire translation of all we know of biological sciences, agriculture, basic biology, medicine, and technology, including material science and physics, to the common man's good. And I want to take you on this 60-year story in the next few minutes. May I have the first slide? Many of you would not even have seen the child on the left side of the stage. That was a child who was ridden by something called smallpox. During the years 1950, that is the first decade of our independence, India already started using vaccines. We did not make them, but we got them from international sources. And we went through a sustained campaign of people, volunteers coming, walking 2,000 kilometers from the top to the bottom of India and from the left to the right of India. And in a matter of about 10 years or so, smallpox was thrown out of the globe. It's one of those success stories of biotechnology. At the same time, India also went on to try and conquer malaria. It did. Unfortunately, the malaria parasite and the malaria mosquito were smarter than the drugs that were used against them, and is now struck back with drug-resistant malarial parasite and drug-resistant mosquitoes as well. So we still need to fight malaria. It is one of the huge global challenges that we have. Move on to the next decade, which is the 1960s. At that time, India produced no more than 50 million tons of grains, rice and wheat. The gentleman on the left with the hat that you see was a professor in a university in Iowa in the middle of the United States. He had looked at a variety of wheat plants and chanced upon a plant in Mexico, which is a remarkable wheat plant. As many of you would know, the normal wheat plant can be as tall as I am. It uses much of its energy to produce the stalk, the leaves, and the seed. But the Mexican one had genetic difficulties, genetic advantages in that it would not grow so tall, it will be dwarf. And it converted much of its metabolic energy into seeds. And Mr. Borlaug, who you see there, decided that this will be a wonderful situation for many countries which need more wheat, to use this Mexican high-yielding dwarf variety of wheat. And the gentleman to the right of the screen that you see is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who wrote to Mr. Borlaug and decided that he will try and import a few tons of this Mexican dwarf variety of wheat. And it was a remarkable confluence of the government, the policy makers, the scientists, and the common peasant that transformed Indian agriculture from 50 million tons to today 220 million tons. Remember, the amount of land has shrunk, the amount of wheat has gone up. This, I think, is yet another remarkable tryst with biotechnology that India has had. At about the same time, we also had a bit of help from the Americans, not just in the form of the Mexican wheat, but also in the soya bean. Soya bean is a brand new entrant into India. Indeed, many plants and vegetables that you eat today are not Indian at all. Thanks to the Portuguese, the French, and the British who colonized us, and particularly the Portuguese, India received as many as 56 different kinds of vegetables, including the chili that Andhra Pradesh is famous for. And one such was soya bean, and that was cultivated by an agricultural university in now Uttarakhand, a place called Pantnagar, and the production of soya bean as a very high protein vegetarian source has come through. But about the same time, people also worried about how nutritious food India is eating. And there was a nutrition research laboratories up in the hills, in the Nilgiris, a place called Kunur, and that was then, in the year 1969, moved from Kunur to this city, Hyderabad, and renamed as a National Institute of Nutrition. But at the same time, the NIN also went on to look at what is the kind of food that is desirable, what's the kind of food that is toxic to us. Many of you know that we eat groundnut or peanut. One particular variety of peanut, which is very easily infected, produces a toxin called aflatoxin. I think many of you know this. So it is important for us to know what the nutritional status and the toxicology status of India is. And that, again, is yet another application of biotechnology. These are examples of effective translation of the results of intermediary metabolism and biochemistry, which you all study in the laboratory, but you see how easily it can be translated into community health. We now have the 9th edition of a remarkable book called Nutritive Values of Indian Foods. It even tells you the idli that you eat in the morning, how many calories, how much of protein, how much of vitamins, how much of minerals, and so on. And that's a remarkable book. I'll just tell you about it. Here is that book. On the right side, you see a table that says the cholesterol content in some food items. And these are all items that we eat every day. So today we know